But since we mentioned Gina earlier, I wanted to bring this up. Now, Gina did, we don't need to go through this whole thing, it's a long article. But Gina did an interview this week with, I think it was Hollywood Reporter. Yes, Hollywood
Yes,
Reporter.
THR. Yep.
Yep. And, discussed some of the things about what went on with her at Disney and the lawsuit. We've covered some of this before. She talks about kind of her history getting invited into this franchise. But I think at this point, everybody watching this program, the panelists here, we all know kind of what went down with this. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to read
Oh yeah,
some of
this
this
is my
interview.
this is my video tomorrow morning because there's something in here that is really fascinating about the inner workings of Lucasfilm that we'll be bringing out tomorrow. But I'm excited to see what you have found here that you find conversation worthy. What is it, Valiant, that you have discovered within these truth bombs from Miss Carano?
Well, I don't know if it's something so much of a discovery, some of the things she's talked about before, but I think one of the things we found interesting, she talks about how, she was forced into a corner to uh, participate in these struggle sessions or these bullying sessions with a bunch of folks at Lucasfilm. We've heard that information before. She brings it up in the article. I don't know if there's something specific that you were kind of referencing here, but everybody was paid the same $25,000 per episode, minus, of course, Pedro Pascal, who was the title character in The Mandalorian. But she didn't want to walk away from it even without getting a raise in the second season. She stuck around for that. But we get down here to where, kind of everything that was going on. She starts mentioning things on Twitter. She starts mentioning things on Instagram. This flew in the face of course, the group think at Lucasfilm and some of the cuckoos that were over there. Talked about, then along came the George Floyd.
Go
Go
up, go
ahead.
up one paragraph. I've got something that's just right up your alley that I'm not going to talk about tomorrow. So let's have it. See that $25,000 per episode?
Yeah.
This is right up your alley, Valiant. She's getting paid $25,000 per episode. She thinks that the second season that they'll give her a significant boost because she's really,
Right.
really popular. She's getting her own show, and I mean, she's Cara Dune, darn it. And so, $25,000 an episode. They keep her at $25,000, but they give her a $5,000 bonus for coming back for season 2. Right?
Yeah.
You and I both know, based on the tax filings, how expensive The Mandalorian was.
Mm-hmm.
Season 1 and season 2. $200 million each for just the production. $25,000 for one of your major actresses. Where is the rest of this $200 million going if everybody except Pedro was receiving $25,000 an episode? Where in the world is that budget going?
Well, it's like a lot of the Disney productions. I mean, you look at Andor, $250 million. You look at The Acolyte, we're expecting somewhere around the same. You look at Book of Boba Fett. Well, that was some of those ones like The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, a little bit harder to come by information on those because they weren't done in the UK. Andor was, the Acolyte was. Yeah. So we don't get those wonderful public filings for those FPCs, those film production companies in the UK that we do for some of these other ones. But yeah, I mean, when you look at this, you scratch your head and you wonder, they weren't paying a lot for these, and that's 8 episodes, right? And I don't know if she was in every episode. So it's the episodes that she was in, I surmise, is what they paid. So maybe she walked out of there with $150,000 for that first season, maybe something similar in the second season. But yeah, that's where we are. But it goes down here to talk about, everything that Disney threw at her. Disney and Lucasfilm watched these controversies unfold with concern, but it was the beep, bop, boop, or whatever incident that launched what she calls a massive meltdown behind the scenes. It erupted after Carano, resisting online pressure to announce her pronouns in solidarity with the trans rights movement, put the words boop, bop, beep in her Twitter bio. Carano maintained she was never trying to mock the community. Quote, I've had male publicists with the same size feet as me. We run around in my shoes and try to put on my dress. She says, I was just fed up, so I was like, fine, I'll put something in my bio. I thought it was cute like R2-D2. But of course, these people are nuts. And if, it's this whole concept today of allyship, right? You can't just say, look, whatever you want to do with yourself is fine. leave me out of it. No, that's not good enough anymore.
You know what she should have done? She should have put he, him, whatever in her bio, and that would have really thrown them all off. They would have not known what to do. And she could have laughed about it the whole way. But if she had put male pronouns up there, they would have had their little heads would have exploded.
Yeah. Lucasfilm and Disney HR department did not find it the least bit cute. Subjected Carano to what she describes as a re-education camp. It began with a Zoom meeting with 2 transgender representatives from GLAAD. So not even the internal staff. They bring in one of these hit squads from one of these American social politic groups that's designed to, terrorize people with wrongthink. It was a lovely conversation, Gina says. They said, "Oh, darling, I'm so sorry that you stepped on a landmine." But did she really? I listened to them and they listened to me. It was sweet and it was fun even. But she says the company also wanted an apology. Quote, one of those statements that almost makes you roll your eyes, Carano says. HR wanted her publicist to craft it. She offered to write her own. After several days of back and forth edits, Lucasfilm ultimately felt the final statement wasn't contrite enough and abandoned the effort. They then submitted Carano to media training. Okay, kind of like what they tried to do, I guess, with Rachel Ziegler, but in the other direction. She kept her sunglasses on, came into my house, and sat all the way across the room, she recalls of her media trainer. Eventually, Carano coaxed the woman onto the couch, and then we started talking normally. She said something I found very interesting. She said, "It's not what you say, it's how it's interpreted. You're giving very logical responses to an emotional reaction." I want to stop on that one because that's what jumped out at me the most. And the idea here is that Gina was being told, you're being too smart and logical. And the people you're speaking to are just too damn stupid to understand you. So you need to boil it back to a more base emotional level, I guess is what this is suggesting.
You hurt their fifis.
Yeah, their fifis got hurt, and then you have to acknowledge their hurt fifis and then try to understand their hurt fifis and talk to them instead of like we used to do it, where it was like, no, that's not what I said. That's not how this is. That's not how this works. I said this. This is all it meant. It's as simple as that.
But
if you can't understand that, it's your problem.
Guys, now what we know is that all of this was nonsense anyway. This whole outrage thing was completely overblown because Master of the TDS over on Gothic Therapy discovered that a huge amount of the backlash against Gina Carano, they were bots.
Yeah, they
were bots, and they were saying, block me or ban me, Gina, in massive numbers, but they weren't real. And the way that you know that is because some idiot in Bangladesh or wherever accidentally put the command code for the coding in the for the bot, put it in the actual message, and so it says, like send to Twitter user Gina Carano, and so he found this, and then guess what? After she filed the lawsuit, some of those same accounts reactivated and started posting the same things. This just like how they brought her in and wanted her to fund an account that was designed to harm her, that apparently Leslie Headland was funding. Just like that, this outrage mob, it's largely not real. And somebody somewhere knew it, and somebody somewhere was paying for it. It was all a ruse to get rid of her because they hate people who have beliefs like Gina. And I'm here to tell you, folks, once again, you're probably not very much like Leslie Headland, but you might be like Gina Carano. And if you're more like Gina Carano than you are like Leslie Headland, you know what they would do to you.
Yep. And Mr. H, I know you're short on time here. Let me read this last paragraph, and I'm going to get your thoughts real quick before you have to bail out. According to Carano, there were no more media training sessions after that. Just, she claims, in order to attend a Zoom meeting along with 45 members of a Disney and Lucasfilm LGBTQ affinity group, which she says she declined. I said, can I take 5 or 6 of these trans leaders to dinner? I'll pay for it, Carano says. They denied that. They were very upset. They said the meeting would be a litmus test And I'm not even sure what that means. So they let her know straight up going in. It was going to be her versus 45 angry people that apparently Disney and Lucasfilm have given this kind of power to browbeat and lecture one of their primary actors that was selling more Star Wars toys at that time than anybody else under Disney's architecture, apart from maybe the Mandalorian himself. So what?
I mean, well, I mean, it's just bullying, isn't it? Look, at the end of the day, Disney weaponized hatred against Gina. These people wouldn't have even known this situation was going on because it's a non-controversy, right? There's no controversy here. There's no story. It's a non-story. It's a non-controversy. These people were told by Disney what's going on. These people were told to hate, to be angry, to go against Gina on this situation. They wouldn't have known about it if it wasn't for Disney. And to sit there and be like, no, you need to be in this meeting with them. It's so to be like, and it's a litmus test. I mean, it's a litmus test on whether you are passable as an advocate or something like. It's just wrong think. It's a test to see whether someone has wrong think or not, whether they can abide by the narrative that we wish to push. And it's absurd, like I've had my own issues with this with my master's degree, and it's absolutely absurd. And full well when you're dealing with idiots, at a certain point, you just have to nod, accept it, and then go, see you later then afterwards. That's what I did when I had to deal with this crap. And then, push for things after the fact through official channels. But, Gina Carano, absurd what they did to her, absolute lunacy, ridiculous. And it's just, it's bullying. That's all it is. It's bullying because you're not saying what they want to say. What they want you to say is anyone that has critical thinking skills will be a target for these individuals, because you only have to have some level of common sense, which granted is not that common in this day and age, but you only have to have some level of common sense to just dismantle every point they make. Every single point comes crashing down, and it makes them all look stupid, and you can't have them look stupid. And people have said this many, many times when it comes to the sort of trans lobby. These people are so passionate about it and so emotional, and 9 times out of 10 the reason why is because they've probably trans their kids, so they can't go back on it. They have to keep going, because otherwise they have to admit that they are evil. And I know that sounds really like, oh, really? That's quite... No, look into these people, because 9 times out of 10, they will have trans kids, and they are evil because they've done it to their kids. And that's why they cannot and they will not relent. They have to. They have to keep going.
They had one of the women that was on the infamous Reimagine Tomorrow videos that leaked a couple of years ago.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Did I get right?
Yeah. She had 2 children. One was gay and the other was trans.
There you go. I got it.
She was one of the ones running Disney's production and creative side and all this kind of stuff. Oh yeah, it's all over. Remember, Disney is a company that has publicly come out and stated that they will assist financially employees.
Disgusting.
Yeah, who want to transition their children.
That is awful.
Yeah,
that is so bad.
But I mean, this is the cult of DEI. Right? This is the aggression of it. And like they even say, to where, hey, Gina, you're trying to give a logical response to people that are emotionally driven. That should tell you all you need to know right there. That's what you're dealing with. And this is what's been allowed to run amok at Disney. But